Hey guys, Alex Walker here, back again with another haircutting tutorial in our salon series. This time we're going to cut a long layered bob. Again, the focus is on making this super easy, super simple and commercially friendly so that you can do this in salon efficient times. I start my sectioning in a really simple way to make it as uncomplicated as possible. I've taken a central section from the front hairline all the way into the nape of the neck, and then we've taken two horizontal sections either side, approximately 2 or 3 centimeters in width. In this scenario, I'm starting my haircut in the nape of the neck with my length and the outline of my shape. The reason I'm doing this is because this is the biggest area of change within the haircut. If I was cutting more hair off of the layering, then I would begin my haircut with the layering. But in this scenario, the guideline length and outline that I put into my shape is the most important part. I begin cutting in the center of my section, combing the hair down using the fine side of the comb, waiting until I reach the guideline I put in my initial section, and then I'm cutting the hair directly on top of the guideline, making sure it is clean and neat. Make sure this is really nice and neat. We comb the hair down, making sure that all of the hair is in the comb and none is missed, and we cut our line. As I come to the sides of my section, we are ever so slightly over directing them, keeping this line square to make sure that the length doesn't get shorter as we come around towards the ears. I have turned the head to the side in order to show you my body position. I am stood directly behind the head. At this point now I'm changing to use the wider teeth of the comb because this allows less tension on the hair, and when this hair sits over the top of the hair in the previous sections, and it naturally will be bouncing up and pushed up due to the density of hair underneath. This will make sure that my line is as clean as possible. I'm combing the hair down using the wide teeth of the comb, making sure everything is neat and clean, and continuing to cut my line. As I come around to the corners of my section, I'm just making sure that everything is pulled to cut the line square, and it becomes very much a repetition of the same process throughout this haircut. I return to the back of the head to cut the left-hand side. Once we reach the top of the ear with our sections at the back of the head, we are then going to comb the hair from the center back, pushing with our forefinger as we take our section all the way into the front hairline. This will allow us to continue our cutting line from back to front really cleanly and easily without having to guess or have any problems connecting the back and front if they were separated into separate zones. As this is the first section on the side, we can return back to using the fine side of the comb for more tension, using the guideline from the back and just behind the ear. I'm combing the hair down, using my scissors to push it into the comb and keeping it clean and sharp. As a left-hander, on the left-hand side of the head, I'm working from front to back. Alternatively, if I was right-handed, I would be working from back to front. As previously mentioned on the left-hand side, when working on the right-hand side of the head as a left-hander, I'm cutting the hair from back to front. Take note of the cutting motion I'm using. As I push the scissors in with the blade open, on the closing of the scissors, I'm retracting the blade backwards, which makes sure we create the cleanest line possible. I repeat the process on my next section, returning to the back of the head, combing the hair down using the wider part of the comb, cutting the hair to my guide, keeping the line as clean as possible. opening the blade and closing as I retract the blade to cut the cleanest line possible. Once I reach behind the ears, I'm again going to turn the head, this time making sure the head is tilted over to the side with the chin up, therefore giving me the cleanest line possible without risk of losing length in the front corner. I've now switched to the wider teeth of the comb on the sides as I'm working on sections that sit above my section number 1, therefore allowing slightly less tension for when the hair is dry and bounces up slightly. When I come into the front, the hair in the very front of the section is being combed directly down to create a square shape. This will maintain a little bit of extra length in the front hairline, giving me the freedom to either remove it should I wish, or alternatively create my nice clean line. Repeating the process on the opposite side, this time working and cutting the hair from back to front. You will notice there is some shorter hair in the very front hairline from our previous haircut. This will make up some of our layering, so it doesn't matter if when you comb this hair down, it doesn't connect. I've taken a central section that runs down through the parting area, and this is where I'm going to begin the layering. I begin the layering in the front of the haircut because we are using the pre-existing shorter lengths in the front hairline as the guide length for our layers. What we're going to do is slightly separate this section of hair, only holding the front area in between our fingers. We are going to comb this hair up until we reach our short area in the front, and I'm going to create a line that runs parallel to the head, working a round layered shape. Once I have my guideline in the front sections of the haircut, I'm going to put the hair back into its central parting in order for me to take my layered sections into the back and create my guideline for the back zone. I've continued my central profile section running from the highest point of the head down to the occipital bone. The reason I don't need to go down into the nape of the neck is because with this haircut, I know the length is shorter, and therefore when I look to layer through the top area of the zone, the bottom will not reach the guideline, and I also want to maintain the length in that area to give the outline of my shape the strength and heaviness that it needs. What we are looking to achieve here with the layering is for it to create some softness, some movement, and also gently encourage the roundness of the layering to help the shape sit under should the client wish to blow dry it in this way. We begin at the top of the head, combing the hair directly out from the head until we reach our short guide from the front section. Then we cut the hair. I remove a small piece from the top of the section to make sure I can manage the amount of hair between my fingers. I am then combing this hair round from the head, and you will begin to see that there is a short guide here and a short guide here. I'm simply going to connect the two. Once complete, I now know any hair underneath this section towards the nape of the neck below the occipital bone will not reach my section of layering, so I can leave that and move on. I am now going to take sections that are small segments that pivot around from the crown and the highest point of the head around the back, combing the hair directly out from the head until I see my guideline, and then I'm going to cut the hair. Working further down through the section, combing the hair out from the head, making sure it's central to where it leaves the head, and then I cut to my guideline. I'm then going to continue with my pivoting sections, making sure now that I only have 2 sections of hair between my fingers. This time, as a left-hander, I am stood slightly behind my section, making sure that I again can see the root area of the section I'm cutting, combing the hair directly out from the head until I see the guideline and cutting my hair. Following the same shape through the bottom part of my section until I get to the occipital bone, moving away section 1, using section 2 as the guide, and now cutting section 3. Beginning at the top of the section, combing the hair directly out from the head, checking against the guide and cutting my line. When I reach the front of my section, I take the last piece where I finished in my back zone and the first section in the front zone, and I use this as a guide, combing the hair directly out from the head, cutting to the guideline. As I reach the widest point of the head on the parietal bone area, I'm using this as my final round layering section, and any hair below the parietal bone and below the roundness of the head is either being lifted to meet the guideline, or alternatively it drops out and we don't cut it. I want to continue my round shape all the way into the front hairline. You can now see the shape that this is given to our haircut on the left hand side. It has given the hair movement and freedom, as well as keeping and maintaining that lightness to the shape, but also because we used a round layering technique, it is encouraging the movement of the hair to sit under should the client wish to blow dry the hair with a round brush, keeping it smooth. I now work on the right hand side of the head. I am making sure I've tilted the head slightly away from the section I'm working to help me maintain good body posture, keeping my shoulders square. If the head was upright, in order to take a round layered section, it would mean that I would have to twist my body and my spine, creating an unevenness, an unpredictability in the hair that I'm cutting and giving me less control over my shape. So by simply tilting the head over, it allows me to comb the hair directly out from the head, making sure I keep those square shoulders and good posture and cut my round layer. I'm now going to apply a small amount of the Davro salt spray. This is going to just give me a little bit more texture and encourage the movement that we've created with our layering. And we're just going to use 2 or 3 pumps of this in each of the zones within the haircut, making sure that this can just add to the soft lived-in texture that we want to create. A really great tip for blow drying bangs and shaping around the face that you want to turn away from the face that you can use and give to your clients is this. I've blow dried the hair down over the face using my round brush to try and minimize and remove the parting. Then tilt the head slightly away, separating the hair where it naturally wants to separate. And the hair in the front section, I place my hand over the top of the forehead, and then I'm going to blow dry the hair around my hand and my fingers, which of course we can encourage, teach and show our clients how to do, but we just focus our attention on this section, blow drying it away from the face, and it gives us this really beautiful soft movement away from the face. Of course, we can use a brush as a stylist, but that is a little more difficult for your clients to do at home. So this is a really nice way for them to be able to blow dry their own fringes and bangs and give them that really lovely flick that they want without the effort. In order to refine this haircut, I need to check two things. Firstly, our internal shape. I'm going to start back in the center at the back with the same sectioning I did when I layered the hair, working from top at the highest point of the head, down towards the occipital, combing the hair out, and then I'm going to use a point cutting technique to create some space within the line that we've cut and allow the hair to disperse more evenly and have more movement. This is a technique that gives a real nice softness, encourages the freedom of movement because of the space we're creating in the line we cut. It's not really being used to remove weight, but more to add texture and softness. If I wanted to remove weight from this shape, I could use a similar technique, but I would hold my fingers further down the hair, closer towards the mid-lengths, and cut in deeper, removing more hair and therefore more bulk from the internal shape. So we're working in our segment sections, combing the hair out and point cutting to remove any of those hard, sharp lines and create soft ones to allow the hair to have maximum movement. Once the refining of my internal shape is complete, I am just going to go over the outline with a gentle chipping technique and just refine any unwanted areas that fall outside of my shape. Remembering the aim here is to create a soft outline and not make this haircut too blunt and too sharp, because therefore it takes away from the look we're trying to achieve. If you were working on a client with extreme thickness and density of hair, you may wish to remove some weight from closer to the outline, in which case you can do this one of two ways. You could comb the hair out, as we did previously, and use a point cutting technique here. Alternatively, you could use a slicing technique that directly affects the area you wish to work on. So you can hold the blade of the scissors here, and as you push them through, you are gently closing, but not fully, and just gliding the blade through the hair to make sure it only affects the desired area that you wish to.